Hello, security pros, and good afternoon. And thank you for joining us on today's Government Insider webinar, Supporting Advocacy and Security Hill Day 2024. I'm Hannah Boone, ESA's Marketing Director, and I'm excited to lead this webinar here today. But before we dive in, I'd like to provide some tips for those of you joining us on your first ESA webinar. So first of all, welcome, and you will be muted for the duration of this webinar, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. So if a question or comment comes to mind at any point during today's session, make sure to click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ensure that we save some time for your question with our experts here today. We will also be recording this webinar so that you can rewatch the on-demand session and share it with your colleagues. So tomorrow you'll receive an email thanking you for your attendance today, along with a link to the recording. So we here at ESA realize that your time is valuable and we really appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Jake Bronger, our VP of Advocacy at ESA.
All right, and hello and welcome. This is episode 4 of ESA's Government Insider, and I am Jake Bronger, ESA's VP of Advocacy and Public Affairs. We're glad you could make some time to join us today. For this episode, we're going to be talking advocacy, and specifically our efforts at the 2024 Security Hill Day in Washington, D.C. Security Hill Day is a federal fly-in event where members of ESA and SIA traveled in, and we heard from influential speakers. We networked with each other and directly engaged with our own lawmakers. This year's event took place on March 5th through 6th. And over 50 members combined to hold over 53 meetings with congressional leaders and their staff. We spoke on important issues like workforce development, taxes, school security spending, and more. One group that not only participated in the event, but also sponsored it was CPI Security out of North Carolina. And joining us today is Tommy Wisnat, Director of Compliance and Licensing with CPI. For those of you who don't know, born and raised in North Carolina, Tommy began his career in the security industry at CPI in 1997 at 22 years old. Just a couple of years ago, Tommy.
Yeah,
starting as a technician.
I had hair then too, so.
Starting as a technician, Tommy worked his way up to a management position, running a small branch until he took over as a regional operations manager. In 2015, Tommy left the operations side of the business to pursue a position in human resources as Director of Compliance and Licensing. And in this role, Tommy's responsibilities include overseeing policies and practices that meet regulations set by the federal, state, and local municipalities. Tommy is also the current president of the North Carolina Security and Low Voltage Association, TMA Government Relations Co-Chair, and that's a new position, I believe, right?
That is a new position there, new committee that they've started. I think they tried a couple of years ago to get that up and running, and then they brought it back. So yeah,
excellent. Well, good choice with you. And he's also an active member with the ESA Government Relations Committee, having just come from a meeting with me a few hours ago. Headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, CPI Security ranks 8th on the SDM 100, and CPI employs more than 700 people and continues to grow across the Southeast. So, Tommy, thank you for joining us.
And I appreciate you having me. I told you earlier, I think you're scraping the bottom of the barrel for somebody to talk to, but I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you reaching out and inviting me to join you today.
Thanks so much. Well, and thanks so much for joining us in DC this year. So what did you think of your first Security Hill Day?
You know, I had seen this go on for a couple of years, and you know, and saw some people go up, and I thought, you know, what a cool experience that would be. Not knowing or thinking that I would have an opportunity to go up there, and you graciously reached out to me and asked me if I would join the group. And man, what an eye-opening experience to be able to go up there and not only get the time to go into the Senate and the House and meet with Congress, but to just to see all the associations that came together that have the business professionals that they sent up there and sit around and listen to different point of views. So just a great experience and so rewarding.
Absolutely. And not only did ESA and SIA work together to put this on, but actually TMA sponsored it and actually held their AICC meeting immediately following it. So it was a great way for us to kind of work together across the entire industry. Now, of course, Tommy, this isn't new to you, but advocacy is a big part of what we do. It's a big part of what I certainly do at ESA, and you're involved with the GR committee and also on the Codes and Standards committee. You're also co-chair of the GR committee with TMA, as we mentioned. So for you personally, what does advocacy mean to you?
Well, and I had to when that question came up, I had to really sit down and think about it. But after working in the industry for 27 years, you put some thought into it, and it goes by so fast, and you think you just deal with the day to day. But when you start looking at how passionate you are about what you do for a living, and as fast as technology is changing and the industry is changing, and bills getting passed through that may be seen, may not. But just to be able to have a voice and to be able to speak on something that you're very passionate about. I mean, to me, that's what it's all about.
Mhm. Well, and as I always mention, if we don't have a seat at the table, then we always could be on the menu, and that has taken place across, in state capitals in Washington D.C., and bureaucrats, looking to change the state regulations or federal regulations, and we see that, on the compliance side a lot too. So,
Sure.
why should other members of ESA and their staff, for that matter, why should more people be getting involved, sending messages, contacting lawmakers, and appointed officials that might impact the industry? Why should they be getting involved?
Well, and we've talked about this offline, and even in our GR committee, that there's a handful of us that are involved and involved in multiple associations or multiple committees. But you put the effort in, and you try to follow stuff, catch stuff, and it's just a handful of us. As big as this industry is, I think the more people that we get involved, there shouldn't be any surprises that, hey, this just got passed, this just changed the entire industry, and you didn't know anything about it.
Mhm.
So I think for us, the more people, as large as this industry is, the more people we can get involved. That's focused especially on local and state, and and then get involved in the federal stuff. But if you can keep an eye on your local stuff and your state stuff at that level, and then let everybody know what's going on, then we can get in front of it. But it's right, like I said, right now, just you've got a handful of people that that try to catch all these things, and it's a fast moving world out there.
Well, and I think to add on to that too, lawmakers don't know what they don't know, and in
Yeah.
certain states, it might be New Jersey, or not New Jersey. I think it's New Hampshire. A state rep makes, I think, a couple $100 a year or something like that in a legislative session. So to expect them to know everything about all the issues that would impact our industry and forget about everything else that they might be working on, it's kind of a lot to ask. So I always tell people, you bringing your knowledge to the forefront and explaining it to lawmakers, building that relationship. You might know who your state rep is, you might know who your state senator is, and you can help educate them on the importance of what our industry does and how the legislation that they're considering would matter. So I think it's just kind of being that resource for them, because expecting lawmakers to do the right thing, probably not always the best
Right.
the best strategy, right? Uh, Now, CPI chose to sponsor the event to help make it all possible. Why'd you guys choose to do that? Was it because I was
Well,
just so convincing, or?
well, yeah, you were that convincing. I mean,
Oh, all right.
you threw out an email that said, "Hey, John Loud just sponsored." I mean, so so we had to jump on somewhere.
That's
Uh,
right.
but no, I've been very fortunate to work with a company and work for an owner that is very passionate about this industry, and he's very passionate about our company, but anything that the industry has ever needed, he's willing to step up and help out. And and that's one thing that he pushes his employees to go out there and get involved. Pound the pavement, keep your ear to the street, and make sure that we know what's going on. And if we can help in any way, the industry to keep us in line with what everybody's trying to do, then he's all for it. So it's just very fortunate to have an owner that's very involved.
Hmm. Well, and I think it makes sense too from a business perspective, as we learned it in the bio. CPI now over 700 employees. I'm guessing you guys are not just doing only work in North Carolina. I assume you guys have spread out a little bit, and so
Yeah.
knowing what different states are doing and how that changes business models with how certain states might act, and that's why it's important to make sure you're engaging at those levels, but then also obviously at a federal level, because that information is going to impact you no matter where you're at.
And it's amazing to, with my role at my job, compliance and licensing, it's amazing to how different every state is. You would think that everybody would just fall in line, and if you know how to do one, you know how to do the other, but that's totally wrong. Every state is different, and that goes from something as simple as licensing as to the laws that are in those states and how you have to operate in those states. And you know, it's if you're not involved and you can't keep, it's hard to keep up with all of them. But you know, thankfully we have people like ESA and CIA and TMA that are very active and you know tracking this stuff where we can jump on and jump on these things and see what's coming ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk a little bit about Security Hill Day in particular. I mean, you as you mentioned, you're in the halls of Congress, walking through the House building, the Senate building. Did you have any interesting meetings?
We did. You know, I was fortunate enough to meet with my state representatives here in North Carolina. So whoever did the agenda and the assignments, that you know, they did a great job because I got to meet the people in North Carolina where our company you know currently is. But you know, it was very busy because the State of the Union was going on the following day or that night. It was that night, I think. So we had the State of the Union going on. So the representatives, you know, we didn't have a great chance to get in front of them, but you know, their staff is very engaged, maybe even more engaged than they are.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that we were, you know, able to do was get in front of the staff, sit down and you know, they would you would bring up a topic and either they would jump on board and say, yeah, you know, our representative, he's already on a committee that's pushing that, or he would be like, well, I didn't even know anything about that, and we haven't even really talked about that, but we'll look into it. So you know, so the meetings were very quick. They were trying to get people in and out, you know, but they were very attentive, you know, taking notes. You know, but like I say, it was very busy with State of the Union. So, which I think made it even better because you could see some of the representatives moving through the hallways and trying to get from one meeting to another, and you know, you recognize people, and so it was a very cool experience.
Great. Well, I know one of the big issues that we were talking about in these meetings was on workforce development, and I know it's been a big issue for our members. If not the number one, it's certainly in the top two for just about you know everyone, integrators, manufacturers, you know everyone, and we still have an active campaign where members can send their congressman a message. And Hannah's going to go ahead and link to that campaign in the chat. I always invite our ESA members, if you've not filled it out, please do so now. Please have the rest of your team do so now. Well, not right now. Continue to tune in, but
Yeah,
right
stay
after
with us right now.
this meeting's over. Yeah. But Tommy, let's talk workforce development. You know, over 700 employees are you know, are you guys finding employees real fast, real easy as well, or is it a challenge even for CPI right now to find?
It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge. You know, what we're seeing is especially the young group, you know, your day-to-day field employees, you know, they're just not interested. It seems like they just don't have the interest in the trades like they used to. And that's, I mean, that's not just our industry, that's everywhere. You know, trades are really hurting right now. You know, I was in Raleigh yesterday, and you know that we're meeting with the electrical board, and the average electrician in North Carolina is 60 years old. So you know, so you look at that, and you know, and we fall right in line with that. So finding employees, you know, it goes in spurts. You'll have a good training class come through, and then the next time you're just scrambling trying to get it filled up. So, but I think everybody, from what I hear from our association and from national meetings that we sit on, and I think everybody's facing the same problems.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, that's what I've been hearing too, even out at ISC West just recently. They're trying to staff up across the board. Well, I want to remind folks that this is an interactive webinar. I don't have to ask Tommy all the questions. You can ask them too. And so if you do have any questions, Hannah will be happy to read them off in the chat. But we do always let people send in questions ahead of time when they read a little bit about the topic, find out what it's going to be on. And so, Hannah, do we have some of those ready?
Yeah, we do actually. So let me pull this up. All right, here's one question. Besides the meetings on the Hill, what else makes the event worthwhile?
Well, that's a good one. So, Tommy, obviously we heard from some speakers. We had a nice little steak dinner the night before we started doing the Hill Day meetings. And so, talk to us about what else you enjoyed about Security Hill Day.
Well, I think going back to what I mentioned earlier, being able to bring all the associations together on that night and that the next day. We were able to bounce things off each other and see what the focus is. But I think that for me was the best thing because you've got ESA and you've got C and you got TMA and everybody's working as hard as they can to try to stay in front of everything. But that day and that night we were all together, same room, bouncing ideas off each other. We had the pleasure of I think it was Jay Obernolte from California talking about artificial intelligence, and I think his history and his background was he developed arcade games in college
Right.
to fund his college, and turns out that he became a congressman, and then and now he sits on the artificial intelligence co-chair. So but to hear his ideas, and everybody hears artificial intelligence and they automatically put up that wall because they're a little bit nervous about what can it do, what it shouldn't do, but to hear the pros and cons that he puts out and says it's not automatically a bad thing. It's just how we manage it going forward and how it's going to look. So to hear that side of it, to hear his ideas, and he has the background in that, it was very rewarding to sit there and listen to that. So I think but for me, just to be able to be around other leadership and from other associations was the biggest thing that I got out of that, other than the Security Hill.
Yeah, I do hear that from our members a lot, that they want to make sure that the associations are working together where we certainly have a lot of common ground. And that's what we were so glad to see, that, we were able to put forward an issue kind of portfolio that, everyone was in pretty strong agreement on. Now, prioritization of those issues might be different depending on the company. But, a lot of those things, workforce development, school security, the role of AI in the industry moving forward, that's impacting all members for TMA, SIA, and ESA. And so I know a lot of that networking is always great to see. And then you're right about Congressman Obernolte, video game developer at once upon a time before he became a congressman, which always kind of makes me laugh a little bit, because I remember playing video games in the early 90s. My dad said, "Knock it off, you're never going to make any money doing that." And I totally missed my calling. I could have been a congressman, could have developed video games just like he did, but I missed out on that opportunity. But I think, I want to touch on AI just real briefly, because we talked about it a little bit with our government relations committee this morning. And as I had mentioned during that call, JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon was talking about how they employ 30,000 employees strictly to try and protect the bank from cyber threats. And they hope that AI is going to really help provide additional defense, for the banks and bank information. But they also know the concern is going to be bad actors are going to be able to also utilize AI to attempt to attack security and to get information. And I think, for our industry, it's also going to be kind of a double-edged sword. AI is going to be able to play a role to help, especially on the video side of security and monitoring. But then, of course, there's going to be bad actors that can utilize AI to maybe tell the alarm panel that yes, signal was sent, but maybe the monitoring station never actually gets said signal because of an AI use. So it's going to be so important that, again, we have that seat at the table and continue to facilitate these relationships, because, again, these lawmakers, as you pointed out, a lot of them said, "I don't know what this issue you're even talking about." And so if we don't show up, guess what? They don't learn. And so the more we can show up, the more we can start these relationships. And I'm talking like, drop your congressman an email every couple of months. Let them know you're there, and that you want to serve as a resource. I've worked in the halls of Congress. I've worked with elected officials. They rely on that. They see us as the experts in the field, and that's why it's so important to build those relationships.
Well, just like us, there's a lot of unknowns of a lot of these topics and issues that we have out there. So there's a lot of unknowns, and when you bring those topics up to the congressmen out there, they were in the same boat we were. There's a lot of it they have no idea. They're not really educated on some of those topics, but they're interested, but just don't know how to give the answers. So,
exactly.
So that's what we're setting. We're kind of sitting here waiting to see where this thing leads us and what comes out of it.
Well, and we've had similar experiences. I know, through the GR committee working on right to repair. I think, a good amount of our members certainly know the concerns about the issue. We're still trying to educate some about, the threats that it poses. but we've run into a state representative that introduced a standard right to repair bill in Missouri. I know we brought it up in our meetings before. And then when our members and Mark Hillenberg specifically from DMP sat down with them and said, these are our concerns from a security and life safety perspective. This would make all those systems vulnerable. The state representative said, my bad, I was just looking to be able to repair my Harley. And it's like you said every consumer electronic device, and now we can narrow it all the way down. And he did. There's now a bill in Missouri just for the right to repair motorcycles. So again, these lawmakers, if we're not involved, that scope does not change from every electronic device can be, has to turn over codes and diagnostics, and anyone can repair them, to, man, I just wanted to be able to work on my own bike and take it out on the highway. So I just want to reinforce, if the lawmaker is not hearing from us, they could be hearing from somebody else, and that could be a threat to the industry. I'll check back.
That's their main focus, and we get tied into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll check back with Hannah to see if we have any other questions.
Yeah, we do. Okay, so this one says, I'm nervous to meet with my congressman. I don't know what to tell them. What pro tips do you have?
Oh, that's another good one, Tommy. I'm sure you've seen this before, and you said this is your first time, of course, doing a DC fly-in. I hear it all the time. Hey, I work on this part of the business, so I don't even know where to start with talking to my member of Congress. Can you talk to us? I mean, you had a good time. You thought it was probably easier than you thought it might have been. Talk to us a little bit about maybe what your expectations were, and then if we were able to make it as smooth and easy as possible.
I went into that kind of feeling the same way. It was like, what do you say? We had this list of things that our talking topics, and so I went into it same way, not really knowing what to expect. But when you meet the Congress and you sit down, they're just like we are. They got put in a position, and there's things there that they understand, and there's topics that they don't understand, and they're trying to figure out. But when they want to meet with people, that's what I took from it, is they want to have the time to sit down and talk to you. They're busy people, they're running ragged around there and going as hard as they can. But when you get in a room and you sit down and they give you the 5-10 minutes, they're very attentive to you, and they want to hear what you got to say. Mm-hmm. And even the staffers, they were assigned to us to come out and speak to us, and some of their meeting rooms were slam packed because of the State of the Union, and so we were meeting in hallways, and we were meeting just at a big table in the front office, and but what I took from it was, after you spoke to one or two, you got very comfortable, and you knew kind of what to expect, and I think it made the day a lot easier than expected. And it made it very enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you've actually kind of spilled the lesser known secret about Washington, D.C., that it might actually be the staffer that's more important to sit down with than the actual elected official themselves, because every congressman, every senator is hearing a million things a day from constituents. Oh, I want you to work on this bill, that bill. I'm for this, I'm against it. But they have staffers who are assigned to specific issue portfolios. That's what they're geared towards. And so when you sit down with that one who's assigned towards, crime or, regulations, occupational licensing, taxes, they're utilizing you as the expert to inform them to be able to take it back to their member of Congress so that they can tailor it down, make it more concise, and that congressman now has a little bit more of a message to develop, as opposed to, lower my taxes. Okay, sure, sounds good, guy. I'll do my best. Now, okay, why? Well, here's the reasons why. We can lay it out for you when we sit down with that staff.
Well, I think leadership, you guys did a great job with putting the agendas together and giving us the talking points on the topics. And so, if you'll do your homework when you get your assignment and you know who you're speaking with, and you go back and do a little bit of history and see what's important to that congressman, and what he's voted for, what he's voted against, and know where, that topics you can talk about that has his interest, makes it a lot easier.
Oh, absolutely. And one other story I like to share is Kirk McDowell was actually out there with us representing Mac Guard Security and from Oregon, was the story that he shared that, again, kind of, we experience it because we're in the industry, but, he told the staffer, look up. See that smoke alarm detector? Look at the wall. See that panel right there? That's us.
Yeah.
We're always around you. You don't even think about us sometimes. You only think about us when something doesn't work right,
Don't even notice it.
and
Yeah.
it's so important that we show the face, the voice of the industry by having those meetings. So I guess as we kind of move to our last few minutes here, Tommy, most important question: was it all worth it?
Man, it was. Like I told you before, I had seen other groups go up, and and it was kind of on my list of things I would like to do, not knowing I would have the opportunity. So, absolutely worth it. And anybody that gets an opportunity, I would say jump all over it. If you get a chance to go up there and you get a chance to be a part of this team, and get in front of Congress, one, make sure you take it serious and make sure that you have the topics, and you kind of put the homework in to get the knowledge, because go into it with the industry in mind. So I know we all get caught up in representing our companies, but go into it with the industry in mind, that this affects everybody. And so absolutely it was worth it. Not, so blessed that I got to go up there and do that.
Oh, awesome. Well, thanks so much, and I hope you're going to be joining us again next year.
I'd love
Tommy,
to.
I appreciate your time today too, man. Is there anything you want to talk about yourself or CPI related as we wrap?
No, I mean, I think, there's nothing to talk about with me.
Okay.
I should have looked at that participant list and see who I was on here to make sure nobody was going to hang me out there to dry on some questions. So,
Don't worry, Hannah's blocking all the negative messages right now.
We're good. I'm glad she's picking and choosing which ones come to me.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for having me, and I appreciate not only for this and for the Government Insider, but also Security Hill Day. So it was awesome.
Well, and if you are interested in joining us for the next Security Hill Day, just go ahead and shoot me a message, jake.bronger@esaweb.org. We'll be probably looking again in springtime of, late winter, early spring of next year. And we hope to go out and kind of help facilitate and build those relationships again. And Tommy, I want to recognize one other quick thing. The importance of doing your homework a little bit beforehand is so invaluable. These bios of these members of Congress are so public that maybe you went to the same college that they went to, the same high school. Maybe you have the same interests as them. Those break down barriers, and they go from wanting to meet with you and listen to you to, oh my gosh, you're kind of an escape for them. Now they can really talk to somebody that they really want to get to know, and
then they
even
actually
more
have
so.
an interest. Yeah, they actually have an
Exactly.
interest at that point. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And that goes for, any type of issue that you think you've ever heard about that, I don't know anything about this, but if somebody can tie something to you that helps draw that passion out a little bit more, it's so much easier to focus and learn about something that you might not have previously known about.
Absolutely.
Well, that's our show for episode 4. I hope you'll be able to join us. I've been your host for the next one, episode 5, as we'll do that in June, and so I'll see everyone on this call at ESX, right, Hannah? They're all going to
Yep,
go
sure thing.
register after they fill out that workforce development action alert that we referenced earlier.
That's
Awesome.
the homework. That's the homework.
That's right.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day.